So maybe you're looking for one of those books for courage, for inspiration, a book about the brain. Well, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, where we discover possibilities and ignite change. And today I'm actually doing a book review for you guys on a book called My Stroke of Insight by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. So hold on, stick tight, and let's get this book review started. So coming across this book, right, where did I get the idea to read this book? Now, this isn't one of those books that was recommended or anything. I was actually scrolling through some TED Talks and I came across her talk, right? And it was actually really intriguing what this woman went through, right? And the fact that she was a brain doctor, and not only that, but she had a stroke and was able to essentially explain everything that was going on, right? She was, you know, a scientist of the brain, and then all of a sudden it got reversed on her, and now she got to live the experience from the inside out, right? And it's essentially her story on what she was feeling that day when she had the stroke. And how she, you know, she tried to contact help, and, you know, numbers were just blurred, and just comparing the left and the right brain, right, and what is primarily dominant, right? Because normally, you know, we essentially praise the left side of our brain because it's a logical side, and we don't really give a lot of praise to the right side, which is our creative side, and the major differences in the two, right? And understanding that the left side, the logical side, makes us an individual, right? Makes us separate from everything and lets us understand that, grasp concept in our world, right? And when she's having the stroke, right, she's more, you know, right side on the creative side, and so she feels more blissful. She feels, you know, more at peace just being on that side and not being apart from everything, right? And this is where this book really gets intriguing, right? Because a lot of times, I know even through meditation, you know, you try to get to the blissful state, right? Because you're trying to stop to make yourself as an individual. And I know there's a lot of different things in meditation to try to stop separating yourself from everything, right? And this is where you find peace. And essentially, that's what this book talks about, right? Now, it doesn't get so into that. I mean, that's just the kind of general concept you get out of this book, is the fact that the logical side, her logical side, is essentially damaged, and she tries to recoup from this, right? And she ends up doing it, especially after the doctors telling her she could never do that. And how much the creative side, how much she had to essentially relearn with that right side of her brain. And it's just a phenomenal feat, right? She's come extraordinary steps to where they thought she wouldn't be at, to where she is today. And again, after going and hearing the TED Talk, this was a book I wanted to check out. It really sounded intriguing, and especially when you can divide the brain the way, you know, she was essentially experiencing from the inside out, and seeing why things weren't working, right? And be able to explain, well, this is why this is not working this way. And the logical side of your brain, you know, does X, Y, and Z. And so essentially, you know, she's trying to call someone for help, but she doesn't know exactly what to do, right? She's very lost, and it's essentially just trying to figure out, right? She feels so blissful, but yet she doesn't really know what she should be doing. And it's amazing how the brain works, right? And the brain, you know, we're still learning so much about the brain, and this book really establishes that, right? And it helps you understand that there is still so much more to learn, and to see how much your creative side is, because, you know, when we become adults, we don't use our creative side of our brain very much anymore, because a lot of times it's downplayed, right? Where people, again, praise that left side of the brain, the logical side, a lot more than they do the creative side. But, you know, I think in society nowadays, I think the creative side is becoming a lot more praised than it used to be. There's a lot more light shined on that side, as opposed to just the logical side. And again, I think it's phenomenal. It's amazing what this lady goes through. Goes through her story about how she, you know, experiences this stroke and how she overcomes the stroke, and then explains what was going on through that whole process. And it is again really intriguing. Now, as far as like any cons to this particular book, I didn't really have any cons to the book, only because I myself, again, I'm a big fan of the brain and trying to understand the left and the right sides. I think was really interesting to me. Now, a lot of people might not seem that as being interesting, but it does shed a lot of light, right? Like I mentioned, a lot of times we try to meditate to try to get ourselves to experience being whole with everything around us, right? We're all built of energy, and essentially that's what meditation tries to do, right? It tries to stop you from, being separate from everybody and being a single entity, as opposed to, being whole with the universe. Now, I know that maybe seem out there, believe me, I know, but it makes a lot of sense, and this book really shines a lot of light on that and helps you understand, that you feel blissful when you don't feel like you're your own entity, right? And I think this is where a lot of times where we fight those ideas of being loneliness and all these different things, right? Is that logical side essentially does that, right? That logical side makes us our own entities. So, when that is removed, right, or there's no function on that side, you start noticing that you're more blissful because you already know you're part of everything, right? And so that is essentially what the book is about, right? It's not a spiritual book by any means. It's very scientific, and it explains a lot. And I think for a lot of people that are intrigued about the brain and about, spirituality a little bit, and essentially how the brain is working when you're experiencing a stroke, right? It's amazing, right? And she goes in great detail as to, why she can't make that phone call, and she tries to look up the phone number to call her co-workers, and she can't do it because the numbers look like blurs, and what she essentially had to do to overcome. And then she's talking to herself in her head and trying to come out with these words, and nothing is coming out. It's just air, right? And so it is really interesting to see this and live this experience with her. And so again, this book would it be for anybody? I think anybody who's intrigued about the brain, who's intrigued about, meditation, and intrigued about anything just in life, right? To really see how you work, because understanding the brain, I think, can help a lot of people in a lot of different situations you're in, because your brain likes to play tricks on you. And if you can play tricks back, right, you can essentially trick your brain into believing what you want it to believe, not what, these random thoughts and voices in your head. And she essentially talks about that too, about the conflicting voices in your head, and how you don't have those conflicting voices when one side of your brain doesn't work, right? And so again, really great read. I really enjoyed this book. It was very different because it was her situation, right? She was a brain doctor and doing this essential experiment on herself, not by choice, obviously, but essentially reliving it and sharing that story, which I think is just great. And I think if that sounds something that's actually intriguing to you guys, I will actually leave it down in the description below. And if you did like this video, remember to hit that like button on the way out. Till next time, I will see you guys later.